Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. It is another week around here of fun and frolic, and I haven't done a lot of football this week. I got Terps fever, as many of you know. Everybody's watching the Turtles. I was at on Saturday night, the tough loss, Rutgers, Michigan, all that stuff. Where are they going to be on the dance card? And Lord knows you can't find an Oriole game on Masson. But this guy is Mr. Combine. I've known Dennis Koulatsos going on 2 decades now. And, you were a nerd about Indianapolis back when Phil Savage was trying to get me to come out to Indianapolis 15 years ago. And I've been going out for 15 years so much the last couple of years I haven't gone. It's a made-for-TV event. And as you and your marriage found out over the weekend, right? You love the made-for-TV. You love the Combine on NFL Network, don't you?
I do, and I had my wife laughing at me the whole weekend, Saturday night, Sunday morning, watching the replays from Saturday night, and then from 2 to 7 on Sunday.
What specifically does she say? Is there anything you can make public about what Margot said? Is it something like, I can't believe you're watching these guys run in a straight line, and this is interesting to you?
You're watching guys in tights run a 40, and then she really couldn't believe I watched Rich Eisen, which is my favorite. That's my highlight of my weekend, watching Rich run. He raises a lot of money for charity, and I'm faster than Rich too, which that's the other reason why I watch him run the 40. To me, it's a lot of fun to watch these young men. Is the explosion there? Are they playing to their game speed, etc. Plus, you get to see some interviews, and you get to see them outside of the pads, and you try to determine, is this a good person or is not a good person? Is this the type of person that I want in my locker room? Right. So I think that goes a long way too.
Well, I would always judge the press conferences like that. I literally, and Dennis, I went out there many years early on with a pool card, right? Like I went out there, and it was such a cluster when these kids would come in. They wouldn't have their names on their back. They wouldn't announce them. You'd be on the other end of the room. They're doing 9 guys at the same time. One Maryland guy's here you've been waiting for all day. Then the other kid. It was just a mess, right? From a getting things done, being able to do radio, being able to get guests, it just was not a good use of my time to be out there once Marvin Lewis stopped drinking with me in the middle of the night, Mike Smith and all those guys. But I have friends that were out there all week long and doing all this. The one thing I would always judge was the podium. I would say, is this an intelligent, respectful guy that I want around? Does he seem well-adjusted? Does he seem nervous is okay, cocky maybe not so much, and who are these guys and what are the first impressions they're making as just a human being, not a football player, not their 40 time, none of that. And I think from a media perspective, I did like that part of it because sometimes I'd hear a kid talking and I'd say, who is that kid? And I'd look down and say, oh, well, he's a 6th or 7th round kid. He's lucky to be here, but he seems like a respectful young man. He seems like an intelligent guy, and I bet Jim Coletto would like to have him around or whatever. You know what I mean? And I would look at it like that more than I would look at this kid's 40 time, and he's a first-round draft pick, and I'm waiting for him. So I can only imagine watching it on a television. I saw a little bit over the weekend, but I'm not so much for the wind sprints. I am much more for who are you, not so much how fast do you run. There are people way smarter than me about your hips, right, and backpedaling, right?
Yeah, they're under the microscope from the time they get there to the time they leave, and that's true. They looked at how they treat the medical staff, the water boys, right? They're getting looked at when they think no one's looking at them, and all that matters. You had Ryan Leaf on your show doing Super Bowl week. Ryan Leaf, here's a story for you. Bill Polian, the Hall of Fame GM of the Indianapolis Colts, right?
And the Buffalo Bills. Don't forget him, too, there.
Right, and the Bills, right. He had the first pick in that draft, and his choice was Peyton Manning or Ryan Leaf. He said what swayed him, a big part of it was that when he went up to shake Ryan Leaf's hand, Ryan Leaf was looking past him. He was looking to see who else was behind him. He was looking through him. Wasn't even interested in meeting him. When he shook Peyton Manning's hand, Peyton Manning locked eyes with him, was into him, wanted to know about him, asked him questions. So that went a long way in determining who he was going to pick. And look at the success he had picking Manning over Ryan Leaf.
He is Dennis Koulatsos. The Dennis Koulatsos Show is heard from 3 until 5 each and every Thursday here with replays on Sunday morning. Formerly the Sunday Sports Voice, still the Sunday Sports Voice to all of us. And getting ready for... So the Terps, played a big game, right? And I did not go. The press credential never arrived. I was at my friend's 50th birthday party at a non-sponsor location in Timonium on Saturday night. And Dennis, from one end of the place to the other end, male, female, black, white, young, old, everybody was checking out the Terps. And, of course, when it was 14-2 and 17-2, it wasn't going so well. But they got back into the game. People were into it. The kid makes the miracle shot before halftime. It was all over my timeline, right? I mean, Peter DeLutis went down to the game with Mom, and people were looking for tickets. It was a $200 get-in for the game. And, for that, I'm heartened, right? I love me a big game. I love me a big night, right? And you can only be that when you're number 7 or number 9 in the country, wherever, and there'll be less than that now. But and you can only do that when Michigan State comes in. You can only do that when the ESPN bus shows up down at Lee's Pint and Shell. My friend Mimi Brown of State Farm on Thursday. It was a big night, and yeah, they lost and all that. But let's not lose sight of how far the whole thing's come to put them in a position where they better be playing basketball at the end of the month.
Oh, they've come a long way, and that's for no doubt. But this was arguably the most important game they've had since joining the Big Ten Conference, right?
Sure.
I mean, ESPN's College Game Day was there after a 15-year absence. The Xfinity Center was electric. People were just really hyped up about the game. And it was disheartening to watch the Terps come out flat, right? They came out very flat, got into a very deep hole, one that they never really climbed out of.
Well, and for the picking up the pieces is, all right, Rutgers, Michigan, you got a Big Ten tournament. If you limp to the finish line, you're going to be a 3 seed. If you really limp, you might, it could even be worse than that. But the other part of this is just being exposed, being hand-checked, being pushed around, at home, missing shots, not having depth, the Turgeon can't coach, all of those things, right? All of those moving parts of what they're going to be in a couple of weeks. The thing that should be the most concerning is that they really are a 6-player team, right? And that unto itself is a problem on the night they get eliminated.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. They have to be perfect in order to win a national championship, and that's just to advance in the tournament, right? I mean, but this was a really rough night for them when that kid, Cassius Winston, when he had a 3/4 court heave right before the half, that was
the
like,
air went.
You got to be kidding me, right? I mean, that was 3 points right there, 3/4 court away, and you're right though. They can't be 6 deep, and they're only going to go as far as those 6 players can take them. They get in foul trouble early against a very good team. They're going to have a hard time. And give Michigan State a lot of credit. Hall of Fame coach. Good talent, solid. They showed up, played a near perfect game. I can't imagine Michigan State being capable of playing a better game than they did Saturday night against the Terps.
Dennis Koulatsos is here. He is selling cars out of Coons Ford Security Boulevard when he is not watching the NFL Network and not trying to figure out what's going to happen with Matt Judon next week and not doing radio here from 3 until 5 on Thursdays as well as Sunday mornings. And, of course, I have a feeling the tech service is going to be live courtesy of Coons Ford next week with the free agency. This is the next story, right? Like sometimes I talk a little baseball with you. Sometimes I just leave it alone, and we can get a little wrestling and MMA and other things, golf and NASCAR and the other things that are going on. We're going to have horse racing down the line here, and I think I'm wearing my Keep the Preakness in Baltimore. We're going to have that in the news this week as well. But the Ravens and what happens next week's a big week around here for free agency with money and quarterbacks and Julian Edelman and Tom Brady talking about who's going to play where and all that. The NFL's going to move back to the forefront next week.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Nestor. Lots of quarterbacks, as you mentioned, in the free agent market. There's more, musical chairs, but there are more quarterbacks than chairs. There's going to be guys out there left without jobs, right, for the first time in a long time. Usually that position is at a deficit. Now there's a surplus, right? So that's part of all the many interesting storylines. Yannick Ngakoue came out and said that he's not interested in a long-term deal with the Jaguars, right? Guys now are starting to figure out they don't want to play for losing organizations who are not committed to winning, and I think that really helps the Baltimore Ravens, right? Steve Bisciotti is a wonderful owner, great GM, great head coach, stability, committed to winning, great quarterback, the league's MVP on a rookie contract. Why wouldn't free agents want to come to Baltimore? I'm sure Matt Judon wants to stay. I'm sure they want him to stay, Nestor, but again, right player, right price, and look, if they think they can get better, They certainly will.
Well, certainly the pedigree, right, of Za'Darius going out and getting his money, and C.J. Mosley, and some of that was managed by how much cap room they had. Some of that, and I think most of that, was managed by how much. We're not. No. I mean, right. We have a number on that player, and where the Ravens are and where the league is, usually somebody out there outbids them, right? So I don't expect Matt Judon to stay for some reason. You know what I mean? And maybe Matt Judon just wants to stay. And if that's the case, then they'll find the ballpark of the number. But usually somebody really comes in with something overwhelming and really, I don't want to say overvalues them because they're a Raven, but certainly the system and what whomever the defensive coordinator has been around here, or even the offensive line coach, has managed to make a lot of Ryan Jensen's and a lot of Ricky Wagner's a lot of money, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The Ravens historically, there's a pattern there of them letting go those linebackers, those rush guys, for big money, right, and getting compensatory draft picks.
Well, going back to Kruger, right? I mean, all those guys.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they've done a great job over space and time. And the real exciting thing is they're going to have some stupid cap space next year. 2021, over $100 million in cap space in 2021.
Well, you got to sign Stanley now, so you just take 20 off the top, right?
You got to sign Humphrey at some point. But the nice thing is, this team is set up to win. That win is going to be open for several years now, and particularly if Lamar continues to play up to the big contract he's going to sign. And I think that's a misnomer. People think that huge contracts hamstring a team when they're given out to these quarterbacks, but they don't hamstring them when a quarterback lives up to the contract. They only work against the team when a quarterback does not play up to the contract. And by all accounts, saw Lamar getting an award the other night with John Harbaugh, and he's working hard. He's working hard on his timing, understanding the game, and I don't think we'll see the same leap he had from year one to year two in terms of improvement, but I do expect him to be even better in 2020 than he was in 2019, when he was the league MVP.
Dennis Koulatsos will be here on Thursday from 3 to 5, driving you home. I usually join him right around 4:15, so I'll definitely be tuning in for that. We'll have Terps residue this week. Anything you want to say about where we are with the Terps and your level of expectation on what do you really expect? And I've looked at the calendar, and it's really weird, right? Like, opening day is going to be this year baseball before the Sweet 16. So you with me? So it's a Thursday, the 26th. Maryland will or will not be playing that night or the next night, right? Like, they have to be playing after opening day for this to be compelling, I think, for any Terps fan, and not to have fans pulling their hair out on the 22nd saying, how can we be out of the tournament the first weekend?
Yeah, you know what? I definitely expect them to be in a round of 16, a Sweet 16, get into the Elite Eight. Beyond that, they're playing with house money. I think they're right where they were supposed to be, right where the experts said they should be at the beginning of the season. And I do think, as you do, the lack of depth is going to work against them, especially as they get in that tournament and they get up against these physical teams that are going to push them around and make them earn their points in their minutes.
Well, and the officiating and how it gets officiated will also be a pretty big factor in sort of the rough and tumble Big East style that we saw in the paint on Saturday night. All they got to do is get to the Great Eight, which that would be the day that Pearl Jam's in town and the day that Ed Block's going on. So if Pearl Jam is here and I'm watching the Terps play in some godforsaken place, maybe Madison Square Garden, who knows, to try to get into the Final Four, that would be a wonderful way to be spending March the 28th. Dennis, sell them straight up. What's going on at Coons Ford, man? We're getting into the spring season here. We can take the chains off the tires now, right?
Yeah, spring season. I'm not sure we ever put the chains on the tires this year, which is okay. It's been a very balmy winter, but it's all good. Look, daylight savings time is right around the corner. Days are going to get longer. Weather's going to get even better. Great time to buy a drop top, right? Mustangs, still a number one selling vehicle for us. Convertible Mustangs, nothing like them, and F-Series.
By the way, Peter DeLutis would agree with that. I just want to point that out.
Yes, he would. So we have some great products, and the money's still cheap, right? Lending money's still cheap, still a lot of 0% out there, and you can buy a lot of vehicles these days. And if you haven't bought one in 4 or 5 years, they're spaceships. A lot of them even park themselves. They When you start to sway in the road, they pull the car back in the middle. Active braking system.
You literally mean that. They really do park themselves, right?
Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
Do you do that? Like, if I go out for a test drive right now, do you, like, is that like a show-off point where, like, an old guy like me that I'm being honest with you, I've never seen. I've seen it on TV. You know what I mean? And everybody has like the backup, camera now. But like, if I come out there right now, you will take me out in the parking lot, and the car will park itself.
Yeah, it'll parallel park itself. It's amazing. I mean, you can't miss. So especially if you park in the city, tight spaces. You're curious, can I or can I? It'll get you in there. It'll get you out of there as well.
Come on, I'm from Dundalk, Dan. I mean, come on, man. I didn't grow up with a carport at all. I mean, I grew up in Dundalk on a bend. You know what I mean? So with a blind spot behind me, having the parallel park where you get one chance, no backup mirror, no nothing, and the neighbors looking out the window, ready to yell at you if you get it wrong. You know what I mean? So,
no, we've gotten soft as a society. I remember when I was parallel parking, I had a neighbor come out and say, "Listen, my car's brand new. Go down another block here and find some old cars you can practice with, but not my brand new car." So that's Essex and Dundalk for you. It's a great neighborhood.
Hey, take care of yourself. It's springtime. It feels good. We got a lot of things to talk about. Everything we could talk about except the Orioles because they don't put them on TV, as I've pointed out, right?
You got it.
You're not even going to take the bait on that? You're done?
I'm still trying to learn the roster. I know they're winning the Grapefruit League, whatever. They're successful. So
Chris Davis is hitting the ball. If they would only show me.
I'll watch him in the beginning. We always do, don't we? I always watch him in the beginning, and then after that, all bets are off.
March 26th. Circle your calendar. One of us will be downtown.
Yes, sir. Probably you.
There he goes. Dennis Koulatsos, Coons Ford. Probably me. Oh. When I tell people when Maryland won the national championship, I was at Bohager's in East Baltimore. By the way, if anybody sees Damian Bohager, give him a kiss for me. And that night, I flew back from Atlanta. I missed Maryland winning the national championship because opening day was more important, right? So this was 2002. So I missed Maryland winning. I was at the Final Four game when they beat Kansas on Saturday, but I missed the Indiana game because opening day was that important. Make opening day important again. March 26th. The one thing with global warming is, I remember opening day, poor Jay Gibbons, have it snowing in the outfield. I don't think it'll be snowing March 26th, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll need a sled. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Appreciate Dennis and all that our friends at Coons Ford Security Boulevard do, including our text service. So, Matt Judon, one way or another, next week, you will get a text on that if you're on our text service. Sign up at WNST.net. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. I am Nestor, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming around the world on our YouTube and our WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Taos of Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports and telling old stories.